আর কিছু করার মতো ওদের তো মিলে যাচ্ছে, আমাদের কোনো নিট করা আছে, ওরা কিছু বলার হলে মেসেজ করবে, এখানে সাইডে এতে মেসেজ আছে, এইটা মাঝে ক্লিক করে দেখতাম এখানে কোনো মেসেজ আসছে, এখানে মেসেজ আছে লিখলে যেমন সাইট থেকে ক্যামেরাটা মিনিমাইজ করে দিই, ক্যামেরাটা কাজ করো, নাম্বারটা আছে জিজ্ঞেস করে এটা কিন্তু হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ নাম্বার, হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে আমাকে মেসেজ কর, যদি আপনি এই টাইমগুলো করা হবে আপনি দেখতে পারবেন, আমাকে হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ করবে, হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ করলে তাহলে এটাতে পার্সোনাল, কিন্তু সবাইকে এক জায়গায় করতে শিওর, হ্যাঁ এটা বুঝে আছে, প্রবলেমগুলো কাস্টমাররা বলবে এখানে ক্লিক করলে চলে আসবে, যে ঠিক আছে ক্লিক করলে এখানে এটা হয়, এটা ইয়েস স্যার দিস ইজ মাই হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ। Dr. Suman Saha. Today our topic of discussion is hernia. First, definition of hernia. What is hernia? It is abnormal protrusion of whole or part of the viscus through an abnormal opening in the wall of the sac containing the viscera. This is the definition of hernia. Now come into the classification. Hernia may be external or internal. According to site, it may be ventral, that is abdominal. It occurs through midline hernias and incisional hernias, and groin hernia. It includes both types of inguinal hernia and femoral hernia. Midline hernias include epigastric hernia, paraumbilical hernia, umbilical hernia. Epigastric hernia that occurs through midline from the epigastrium to umbilicus. In cases of paraumbilical hernia, it occurs around the umbilicus, and umbilical hernia occurs through the umbilical point. Inguinal hernia may be indirect or direct type. Indirect hernia occurs through the deep inguinal vein, that is the opening of fossa transversalis lies 1.25 centimeters above the mid-inguinal point. And direct hernia occurs through the Hasselbalch triangle. The boundary of Hasselbalch triangle is important. It is bounded medially by the lateral border of rectus sheath, laterally by inferior epigastric artery, and below or base is formed by inguinal ligament. Hernia occurs through Hasselbalch triangle is called direct inguinal hernia, or hernia may be both direct inguinal or indirect type, that is pantaloons hernia. So in pantaloons hernia, both components are present, both direct and indirect. Now, neck, that is the most constricted part of hernial sac. It lies beyond the mouth. Body of hernial sac and fundus. Fundus means the distal most part of hernial sac is called fundus. The coverings of hernia include hernial sac covered by 3 layers. That is, outermost covering is external spermatic fossa. It is derived from external oblique aponeurosis. Premasteric muscles and fossa is derived from internal oblique muscles, and internal spermatic fossa it derives from fossa transversalis. And content may include bowel or omentum or bladder. What are the complications of hernia? Irreducibility. In cases of irreducibility, hernial content does not reduce by manual pressure, but there is no signs of obstruction. In obstruction, there is signs of acute or chronic intestinal obstruction that includes vomiting or pain abdomen or abdominal distension. In cases of strangulation, there is diminished blood or muscular supply. and incarceration may occur. Now coming to discussion about incisional hernia. Yes, okay. And relation with the swelling, aggravating or relieving factor should be any staining factor like chronic cough, chronic constipation, difficulty in maturation, present or not. In past history of operation, if the swelling appears long duration after the operation, that is after 1 year, you should mention the operative history in past history, not in history of present illness. In case of personal history, bowel habit, bladder habit, sleep, appetite should mention. Family history, treatment history, and history of allergy. Now, physical examination. It is divided into 3 parts. General survey, local examination. On local examination, examination of abdomen. It should be done in inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation. Hernial swelling, the size mentioned, extent of swelling, shape of the swelling, surface, margin, both in standing and lying down position. Whether it is reducible or not. On lying down position, push the swelling through the gap. You can assess the gap in the abdominal wall. And systemic examination. You should write summary of the case and provisional diagnosis. Like it is a case of ventral hernia at the previous incision site with approximate measure of the gap to be mentioned. This is the slide showing cup impulse, reducibility, and defect size. Relevant operative history in incisional hernia. That is the type of operation, whether it was done in elective setup or emergency setup. Post-operative period, was there any wound infection or wound hematoma, gapping of the wound, burst abdomen, duration of post-operative hospital stay, and any history of post-operative cup, staining, and abdominal restriction should mention. Patient factor includes systemic illness like diabetes, hypertension, whether patient is malnourished or not, anemic or not, smoker or non-smoker, any screening factor like constipation, chronic cough, prostatism, and urinary problem. Causes of incisional hernia. The most important is post-surgical technique, that is non-anatomic incision like vertical incision or midline incision or perimedial incision. There is more chance of incisional hernia formation. Method of closure. Multi-layer closure is associated with more chance of incisional hernia. And inappropriate suture material. If you use absorbable suture during the closure of sheath, there is more chance of hernia formation than non-absorbable suture. And suturing technique is also important. Closing the wound under tension is associated with high incidence of incisional hernia formation. Preoperative staining factor. Chronic cough, constipation, urinary obstruction, these are associated with increased incidence of incisional hernia formation. And postoperative staining factor like abdominal distension, cough, respiratory distress, lung collapse, or wound infection. General factors include age of the patient, malnutrition, hypoproteinemia, jaundice, malignancy, diabetes, obesity, chronic renal failure, and immunosuppression. Tissue failure usually occurs after 5 to 6 years after operation. These are due to mainly abnormal collagen production and maintenance. Now coming to management of incisional hernia. These are the preventive measures that should be taken before the operation. That is reduction of weight in obese patients. Treat any respiratory distress preoperatively. Treat underlying diabetes, careful closure of abdomen, and measures to prevent wound infection. Investigation of any intra-abdominal pathology like USG, CT scan, UGI endoscopy, upper GI endoscopy. This should be done to detect any intra-abdominal pathology. And conservative management is usually done for patients with wide neck hernias and elderly patients who are not fit for surgery. Now coming to operation, there are several techniques used in operation for incisional hernia. Anatomical repair is usually done in cases of small hernias.
Sir,
approximation of rectus sheath, peel operation, where the hernial sac is not open. Fundus of the sac plicated with non-absorbable suture and push it into the peritoneal cavity. Dunning repair can be done. Component separation technique is used in cases of large hernia, but the intra-abdominal capacity is less. Muscle pedicle flap may be used using tensor facilita or rectus femoris. Incisional hernia repair can be done by laparoscopic procedure also. And most important is prosthetic repair, that is mesh repair. There are 3 techniques of mesh repair. Onlay technique, in cases of onlay technique, primary closure of fascial defect primarily done, and the mesh placed over the anterior rectus sheath or anterior fascia. The advantage is there is no direct contact of mesh with the viscera, but there is increased incidence of mesh infection as it is placed subcutaneous plane. In inlay technique, the mesh is interposition between fascial edge, and the disadvantage is there is high chance of recurrence. In sublay or underlay technique, the prosthetic mesh placed below the fascial bone. that is the preperitoneal placement of breast. Now coming into the inguinal hernia. Inguinal hernia occurs in relation to inguinal region, specifically inguinal canal. It is two types mainly, that is indirect and direct. And in pentagonal hernia, as mentioned before, there is both components are present. Inguinal hernia may be complete or incomplete. In complete hernia, the hernial content goes at the bottom of scrotum, and in complete hernia that does not go beyond the testis. Anatomy of inguinal canal. Deep ring, it is oval shaped gap. It is the gap of fossa transversalis. It lies 1.25 cm above the mid-inguinal coil. Superficial inguinal ring, it is the opening in the external oblique aponeurosis. And anterior wall and posterior wall, there is difference in medial and lateral aspect. Content of inguinal canal is spermatic cord in male and round ligament of uterus in case of female. Coverings of spermatic cord, as mentioned before, external spermatic fossa, hemispheric muscle fossa, and internal spermatic fossa. Inguinal hernia may be congenital or acquired. In congenital inguinal hernia, there is persistence of processus vaginalis, or it may be acquired. Site of neck is important during operation in relationship to the inferior epigastric artery. When the neck is situated lateral to the inferior epigastric artery, it is indirect inguinal hernia, or if it is situated medial to inferior epigastric artery, it is direct inguinal hernia. Coverings of hernia and content. Content may be bowel or momentum or urinary bladder. Patient may present with inguinal swelling or only inguinal swelling. It may be direct or indirect or both. This is the diagram showing inguinal swelling. There only inguinal swelling is seen. This is the diagram showing inguinoscrotal swelling, and this is complete type. Hernia reached up to the bottom of scrotum. In history, you should mention the patient particulars, that is name, age, sex, religion of the patient, occupation, address, date of admission, date of examination, and bed number that is allotted in examination hall. Chief complaint is usually swelling in right or left groin or groin and scrotum for how many months or year. Pain over the swelling for how many months or year. Now, history of presenting. In first paragraph, you should mention the details of swelling, that is mode of onset. Mode of onset of swelling, whether it is acutely onset or insidious onset. How did the swelling appear first? Whether it appears after strenuous activity or not. Where did the swelling appear first? Inguinal region or scrotal region? Progress of the swelling. Rapidly progressive or slowly progressive. Relation of the swelling with patient's condition. What happens when the patient stands up or lies down? Relation of swelling with stains like coughing. Any period of irreducibility of the swelling present or not, you should mention. And in any inguinoscrotal or inguinal swelling in opposite side is present or not. In second paragraph, you should mention details about pain. The following are mentioned. Number one, character of pain. It usually dull-acting pain, and quality pain occurs in cases of obstruction. And site of pain. Site of pain is important, whether it is in groin or over the swelling. Any radiation of pain is present or not. Relation of pain with straining, like coughing, and how the pain is relieved. Usually pain relieved by after lying down position. History of any straining factor like chronic cough, breathlessness, chronic bronchial asthma, bowel habit, bladder habit, to exclude any prostatic enlargement or urethral stricture like nocturia, urgency, frequency of micturition should mention. Past history of similar swelling in the same or opposite side is present or not, and any history of operation you should mention in past history. Personal history, you should mention about personal history and family history. Treatment history, whether patient received so far for the present disease any other medications for other disease or not. Any history of allergy present or not. Now coming to physical examination. It is divided into three parts. First, general survey, local examination, and systemic examination. General survey, you should mention the mental status, like patient whether it is alert, conscious, cooperative or not, feel, faces, gait, decubitus, hydration status, nutrition, anemia, jaundice, cyanosis, clubbing, edema, pulse, temperature, respiration, and blood pressure. Local examination it is divided into four parts: inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation. Always mention the opposite side of inguinal scrotal swelling. Examination of tone of abdominal muscle and parectal examination, particularly male patient, aged patient with symptoms of prostatitis. Coming to inspection. We first mention the site where the swelling is present, left or right side. Position and extent of swelling, size of swelling should mention in two dimensions. Number one, longitudinal and transverse dimension. Approximate measurement you should mention, and shape. Hernia shape may be piriform in cases of complete inguinal hernia, and globular shape in cases of direct inguinal hernia. Surface may be smooth or irregular. Margins may be rounded or ill-defined. Whether expulsile impulse on top over the swelling present or not. Skin over the swelling. Is there any pigmentation or engulfed vein or scar present or not? You must mention. Any visible peristalsis over the swelling, and position of penis. In cases of large hernia, penis may shifted to opposite side. And testis, whether the testis is separated or swelling is seen all around the testis. Palpation, temperature and tenderness over the swelling, and gait above the swelling possible or not. Position and extent of swelling, size, shape, surface and margin you should mention. This is the diagram. So, actually this is the video presentation showing cuff impulse. Consistency of the swelling, that is in cases of enterocoel, that is hernia content intestine, the consistency is soft and elastic, and dumpy in cases where the hernia sac contains omentum. In cases of obstructed hernia, the swelling is tense and tender. It is important to see the relation to the pubic tubercle. Inguinal hernia usually occurs above and medial to pubic tubercle, and femoral hernia lies below and lateral to pubic tubercle. For identification of pubic tubercle, we ask the patient to adduct the thigh against resistance, and tendon of adductor longus is palpated at the upper medial aspect of thigh. Raise the tendon upwards, it reaches up to the bony point, that is the pubic tubercle. Here the diagram showing how to trace the pubic tubercle. Relation of the swelling to the testis, whether testis can be felt separately from the swelling or not. In complete hernia, testis not felt separately, and hernia reaches up to the bottom of scrotum. In incomplete hernia, testis felt separately from the hernial swelling, and swelling stops at the upper pole of testis. That is the root of testis. Reducibility, to test for reducibility, patient has to lie down. Ask the patient to reduce the hernia himself or herself, usually done in lying position. The thigh of affected side should be flexed, adducted, and internally rotated. Finger guard of the inguinal canal by thumb and index finger of one hand, and then scrotum is gently squeezed by another hand. That is called taxis. The process is called taxis. There is the diagram showing how to reduce the content. In omentocele, the first part of hernial content is easy to reduce, but last part is difficult to reduce. And in enterocele, the first part is difficult to reduce, but the last part of the content reduced easily. Invagination test is usually not done nowadays, but described here. The scrotum on each side is inverted with examining fingers, index finger entering the inguinal canal along the course of the cord structure. The size of external ring and the finger pushed up to the superficial inguinal ring. The pulse should feel the ring. Patient is asked to cuff. A palpable impulse will confirm the hernia. If it is felt to the pulp of the finger, it is called direct hernia, and if it is felt on the tip and dorsum of finger, then it is called indirect inguinal hernia. This is the diagram showing invagination test. It is important how to identify deep ring and deep ring occlusion test. Patient is asked to lie down and hernia is reduced first. Deep ring lies 1.25 cm above the mid-inguinal point, which is situated between the midpoint between the anterior superior left spine and symphysis pleuris. Thumb is placed over the deep ring and patient is asked to cuff. If no extensile impulse on standing position seen in medial to the deep ring, the test is positive, that is the indirect hernia. If extensile impulse is seen medial to the inguinal ring, the test is called negative, that is due to direct inguinal hernia. This is the diagram showing deep ring occlusion test. Now, how to examine cuff impulse? Palpate with thumb in front and index and middle finger behind the cord structure. This is the diagram. Demand test, that is three finger test. There are three finger placed, index finger placed in deep inguinal to occluse deep inguinal ring, middle finger placed to the superficial inguinal ring, and ring finger placed to the femoral ring. And patient is asked to cough. If impulse is felt in index finger, it is due to indirect inguinal hernia. If it is felt in the middle finger, then it is called the direct inguinal hernia. And if it is felt by ring finger, it is due to femoral hernia. This is the diagram. Three fingers are placed on index finger in deep inguinal ring, middle finger in the superficial inguinal ring, and ring finger in the femoral ring. This is the diagram showing given space. That's in the bulging in middle finger here. It is probably due to
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
direct inguinal.
So side पे change हो चुका है.
Now, how to examine the abdominal muscle tone? It is done by two methods, either head raise test or leg rising test. In cases of there is muscle weakness is present, then there is bulging in both flanks. That is Malgagnis bulging are seen. In percussion, patient examination should be done in standing position. Percuss over the hernial swelling, keeping the content out the sac. Resonant note is noted in cases of enterocele, and dull note is seen suggestive of omentocele. Here the diagram showing how to percuss over the swelling. Auscultation, patient in always standing position, and bulb count over the swelling suggests enterocele. Rectal examination is important in adult male patient to see whether there is prostatic enlargement present or not. Systemic examination of abdomen, respiratory system, cardiovascular system, nervous system, spine and cranium should mention. And you should write the provisional diagnosis in the following format. You must mention the right or left-sided inguinal or femoral hernia, direct or indirect hernia, complete, incomplete hernia, whether it is reducible or not irreducible, complicated or uncomplicated hernia with content, whether it is intestine or omentum. হচ্ছে না
এক জায়গায় দাঁড়িয়ে গেছে মাঝে একটা জায়গার পর থেকে ওরা আর দেখতে হয়নি যে জায়গায় ভিডিওটা চালানো করা হলো ওখানে
Is the relation to the preventive vertical, it is inguinal hernia or femoral hernia. Relation of the swelling to the testis, incomplete hernia. देखिए दी
এবার দেখা যাচ্ছে কি স্লাইডগুলো দেখুন দেখুন হ্যালো হ্যালো হ্যাঁ একদম সুন্দর স্যারের সঙ্গে একটু কথা বলুন
বলছি is the examination test and the morning. So, আমি একটু লেট করে স্লাইডটা দেখো আমি ডিফেক্ট কথা উপরে সীমা সব দেখো আমি ডিফেক্ট কথা বলবো from 5 to 10 minutes. সবাই একটু অডিওটা অন রাখবে ঠিক আছে মানে কোশ্চেন করবো আমাদের একটু ডাউটস আছে একটু ক্ল্যারিফাই করতে হবে ঠিক আছে
ও স্পিকার কাজ করছে না? না না, বলছি স্পিকারটা কাজ করছে না। হ্যালো, ওকে শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যাঁ, ওরা শুনতে পাচ্ছে।
হ্যালো, তোমার আওয়াজ শুনতে পাচ্ছি, হ্যাঁ, ওদের আওয়াজ আমরা শুনতে পারবো না।
পুরোটা মিউট করা।
স্যার ওখানে এটা দেখতে পারবেন।
দেখা যাবে।
তো কমপ্লিট হয়ে যাবে। স্যার আপনি বলবেন।
হ্যাঁ, আমি ওখানে এমনি বলবো ওদের সাথে। তুমি একটু ভিডিওটা অন করে দাও, ক্যামেরাটা on।
এইখানটায় দেখা যাবে। স্যার মাল্টিমিডিয়া টুলবারটা কি আমরা সেটাকে দেখি। একদম কোশ্চেন করছি।
ঠিক।
স্যার কেন
সিরিয়াল লেয়ার করলেন মাল্টিমিডিয়া করলেন।
এটা তো একজন এক্সট্রা
আচ্ছা,
স্লাইড চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে না, এটা অনেকে
না না, ওটা তো ঠিক কথা। ও স্লাইড চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে না, কি করবো, এটা করছি ভাবছি হিয়ারও একটু হিয়ারও। আচ্ছা, এটা কি, এটা ক্যামেরা আমাকে দেখতে পাচ্ছে? So, so good afternoon everybody. In fact, just we have crossed 12 midday. So hope everyone is fine. In fact, my sincere thanks to my junior colleague, Dr. Suman Shah, your Suman sir. He was a brilliant teacher. In fact, he proved himself again by a vivid description of a very important clinical case, that is inguinal hernia, which is very relevant to you, especially for your practical exam, which you may encounter as a long case, and an incisional hernia also. He has already described the incisional hernia, and this incisional hernia you may get as a short case. So anyway, everybody has witnessed the slides. In fact, we had tried to go in for, Suman has arranged for certain photographs also. I know that it is not an alternative for the clinical teaching, but we are trying our best, just like you are also trying your best to adapt to the new way of learning in this pandemic situation. In fact, we are calling this the new normal. Anyway, just for your examination purpose, just keep a tab. In the past history, you take the history of an operation for appendicectomy, especially if it is a right groin hernia. That is important. Why it is important, you must know. Which nerve is injured and which predisposes for a right inguinal hernia in a history of appendicectomy, that you must know. Next, in inspection, see, inspection anywhere over the body for a swelling. We know that there are 5S, that is number, then comes 5S, side, size, shape, surface, skin. And then we need to know about the margin and movements. In movement, in an inguinal hernia, or in case of any hernia, we basically check out with the cuffing impulse. So when you are going for local examination, especially for an inguinal hernia, which is important, is after the prerequisites of taking an informed consent, ensuring privacy, have the same gender, in a well-illuminated, well-ventilated room, you should also ask the patient to evacuate his bladder. That is, he should come to examination after urination, just like in abdominal examination. And then the posture of the patient while you are inspecting should be in a standing posture. That is, the swelling comes down. And you describe the inguinal or the femoral hernia as the case may be. Two important points are to be noted, not only for your clinical writing or mentioning there in the clinical examination, but these points will help you in corroborating your diagnosis, or rather confirming your diagnosis. When the examiner asks you why you state such an inguinal hernia, or this is a hernia, in the provisional diagnosis, you need to state, yes sir, on inspection, I have checked out with the deviation of penis. In our main differential diagnosis for an inguinal hernia is a hydrocele. It may be other testicular swelling, or it may be a simple lymphangitis, or it may be a varicocele. But most importantly, and commonly, we find that hydrocele is a case which we usually confuse with. So what we do is that we note the deviation of the penis. In a hernia, there is surely deviation of the penis, as the root of the penis is deviated by emerging complete hernia, which emerges from the superficial ring. So the root of the penis is deviated to the opposite side. So that should be noted on inspection. And number two, on inspection, you should note the levels of the scrotum on both the sides. In a hydrocele, that will be at a lower level. So if it is a right-sided vaginal hydrocele, the right side of the scrotum will droop down. Whereas in a hernia, you find the contrast. That is, usually the right testis will, in a right-sided inguinal hernia, the right pole of the scrotum will be at a bit higher level. These two are very unique points. Number two, in palpation, just like you start off with, as Dr. Suman Shah has described, that is, first note the local temperature, tenderness, and then corroboration of the inspected findings. But most importantly, in this inguinal hernia, always try never to forget these 2 points. That is, separately try to palpate the testis on that side. If it is a hydrocele or in testicular swelling, then it will be inseparable from the testis. Whereas in any case of inguinal hernia, in all the cases of inguinal hernia, the testis will be separately palpated on that side. And next issue is getting above the swelling. Now this clinches the diagnosis. If you can get above the swelling, basically you are trying to palpate for the upper border of the swelling. So if you come back again to the confusion that persists with the inguinal hernia and hydrocele, so in a hydrocele or any testicular swelling, you can jolly well get above the swelling. That is, the upper border of the swelling is palpable. But in a case of an inguinal hernia, you cannot get above the swelling. So these 2 palpatory findings are unique in helping you come to a diagnosis, that is a provisional clinical diagnosis. Next is regarding completeness and incompleteness of inguinal hernia. There has been certain debate, and in certain clinical textbook we find that the completeness of an inguinal hernia depends upon whether the hernia has reached till the testis or not. Now, that is not an issue. The most important difference of a completeness of a hernia, inguinal hernia, depends on the criteria whether the hernia sac or hernia itself has crossed the superficial inguinal ring or not. Basically, this is not a random criteria that is fixed, but this is the rationality of the difference of coverings of hernia. Most probably, Dr. Suman Shah has already elaborated regarding the different parts of the hernia. And over there, he has mentioned regarding the coverings of the hernia. So if you come to the coverings of an incomplete hernia, inguinal hernia, that will be different from a complete inguinal hernia, which once crosses the superficial ring will acquire an additional covering of external spermatic fascia. So there lies the difference between completeness and incompleteness of inguinal hernia. That is, whether the hernial sac is crossing the superficial ring. Next important point is, he has rightly pointed out, that is differentiating an inguinal hernia from femoral hernia. So there the pubic tubercle is the clue, and you should know the relationship of the inguinal hernia and the femoral hernia with the pubic tubercle. And another point I like to emphasize is that as I was talking, that on inspection, when you are going for inspection, you ask the patient to be in the standing posture, and you stand in front, and then you describe. Sorry. Similarly, on palpation also, you make the patient stand erect, and then you palpate, going for local temperature over the swelling, tenderness of the swelling, and all these things. But remember, where on inspection the examiner asks you to demonstrate cuffing impulse, it will be very difficult to demonstrate it clinically if the swelling is already present. So in that case, what you do is that usually you are given reducible swelling, So you ask the patient to lie down. It might be so that the patient needs some taxes to reduce. So first you reduce the swelling, or it may reduce spontaneously. And then you ask the patient, in lying down posture, you ask the patient to cough. In fact, before you are being questioned by the examiner, during your time period, allotted time period, try to go in for clinical demonstration of the coughing impulse. Sometimes some patients, what happens is that the clinical demonstration of coughing impulse after reduction of the swelling in the supine posture is not very apparent. So for those patients, you ask the patient after reducing the swelling in a supine posture, you ask the patient to be in the standing posture and ask the patient to cough. And then it will be clinically easily demonstratable. So that is an important finding. In fact, in this tune itself, let me remind you that for any clinical test, especially Zeeman test, ring occlusion test, ring occlusion test, or even invagination test, which is obsolete nowadays, you need to reduce the swelling. That is, the hernia needs to be reduced. So always remember that. I think this covers all the issues. Yes, I find that somebody, Mr. Ayush Pandey, if I had got your name correctly, you have asked me to explain the multi-layered closure. Now the issue is, when we come to the repair, operative repairs of inguinal hernia, you should know that categorically there are three types of operation. Number one, which is the primary operation and a component of further operations, is herniotomy. That is the basic thing. That is, you have a hernial sac, which in case of indirect inguinal hernias are nearly always congenital. So this preformed sac needs to be excised after reduction of the contents, and it needs to be excised near the neck, that is at the deep ring. Now this herniotomy component, this is the simple operation which usually suffices in young children. So for a congenital hernia or an inguinal hernia for young children, where the muscle tone is fine, we simply go in for herniotomy. Number two category of operation is herniorrhaphy. This herniorrhaphy includes different types of operations, historically starting off with Bassini repair, which was a 6-layer repair, with Soldis repair, which was brought down to 3-layer repair. So what is these herniorrhaphies? Herniorrhaphies are basically tissue repairs. We, in fact, in our student days, went in for the herniorrhaphies, which was basically a modification of the Soldis repair. I don't know, but most probably this is a multi-layered closure that you are speaking of. So in fact, this multi-layered closure. Oh, acha. I got it. Dr. Ghulam is there to help me out. Thank you, Dr. Ghulam. So you have most probably, Mr. Ayush Pandey, asked this question, relationship to the incisional hernia. In an incisional hernia, again, if you come to incisional hernia, there are two types of tests. On principle, there are two types of operations, that is herniorrhaphy and hernioplasty. There is no herniotomy. So in herniorrhaphy, what you do is that you go in for simple tissue closure. Now in tissue closure, in all the herniorrhaphies of incisional hernia, we usually in the midline hernias, we close it in the single layer. But in any lateral hernias, be it a Spigelian hernia, it will be multi-layered. But for all practical purpose, for the last about 3 decades, if I'm not mistaken, this herniorrhaphies have been replaced by hernioplasty even for incisional hernias, except the only exception is if the defect is in the midline and the defect is less than 2 centimeters. So we go in usually for the hernioplasty. In the hernioplasty operation, we use an implant, that is the Prolene mesh. There are different kinds of mesh nowadays, even newer mesh with hybrid mesh, where you can just simply stitch up the mesh with the peritoneum. But in the conventional way of putting in a Prolene mesh, we need to separate the mesh from the underlying intestine and omentum. So we need to cover up That is, we need to form a bed for the Prolene mesh to be fixed. So that is usually the pre-peritoneum, that is the surgical peritoneum. And then we put the mesh just before the surgical peritoneum, which is basically, theoretically at least, known as pre-peritoneal mesh placement. Now over that, we suture up the fascia or the different muscle layer depending upon whether it is midline or Spigelian or even lateral hernias. Because institutional hernias, you know, basically these are known as ventral hernias, and this can occur in different parts of the anterior abdominal wall, starting off from the midline to the extreme lateralmost position. So that might explain that the multi-layered closure may be a tissue repair, which usually was in vogue even for, say, Meo's kind of operation for lateral hernias, lateral ventral hernias. Or it may also include the hernioplasties, where we use the mesh placement on a bed that is an inlay mesh placement. So that may also include that. So basically, multi-layered closure as such for hernias, I don't know which textbook have you gone through. This is not a terminology which is in vogue, at least surgeons like us are concerned. So this sort of multi-layered closure might not be much of a feasible question for you. If it happens that you are asked, you may go in for this sort of an answer. I think this answer will be adequate for you. Very sorry, I got to know that you cannot, in fact, we cannot hear you. That is very unfortunate, because I was just talking to your CR over Dr. Golam's phone. I asked him that I'm ready for any questions from your end, but very unfortunately I found that we cannot hear you. So that creates a problem, especially we are going for this. Anyway, Ayush, I got it around 12:18 just now. You told me that it has really hurt. In fact, we are there to help you out in this pandemic situation. So I think with this, let me sign off from this online class, and wishing you all the best for the upcoming festive season. Enjoy yourself, but at the same time, stay home, try to stay home, take care and stay safe. And surely try to go in for regular bit of studies every day, so that your upcoming examinations, for the upcoming examinations, you will be ready. Anyway, best of luck to all of you. Okay.